Welcome to today's deep dive. We are getting into something really interesting today because, when you hear the phrase building wealth, there's a very specific, almost exhausting image that just immediately pops into your head.
Oh, absolutely. It's usually like someone waking up at 4 a.m.
Right. Chugging a lukewarm kale smoothie,
Yeah.
taking an agonizingly cold ice bath, and basically, crying into their vision board before the sun even comes up.
Right. We have this massive cultural obsession with the idea that financial freedom requires this grueling, extreme, almost toxic hustle culture.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is just so refreshing. We're looking at a stack of research and a highly comedic but really practical breakdown of 17 micro habits for viral wealth.
It's a great piece of source material.
Yeah, and the core premise totally flips that whole hustle script. It argues that the real secret to financial freedom isn't found in massive, painful lifestyle overhauls.
No, not at all.
Instead, it's about these tiny, boring, almost invisible daily habits. There's a brilliant analogy in the source today. These micro habits are like financial termites.
I love that comparison.
Right. But instead of destroying your house, they quietly, relentlessly build you a mansion behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to extract the most powerful of these tiny actions, and show you how they can compound over time to transform your finances and your mindset without leaving you completely overwhelmed.
And that's a vital perspective shift because the reality is extreme lifestyle overhauls, they just rarely stick.
Yeah.
Human guesses are just not wired to sustain that level of friction indefinitely. What actually drives long-term financial success are those small, consistent actions that operate in the background.
Basically on autopilot.
Right. They don't require monumental willpower every single day, which is precisely why they work.
Yeah.
We're looking at the mechanics of consistency over intensity.
And before we even look at actual dollar amounts or like spreadsheets, we have to look at where your daily energy goes. We have to rewire your internal operating system first.
Because if you don't have the mental bandwidth, the math doesn't matter.
Exactly. A great place to start is the ratio of what you create versus what you consume.
Mhm.
And there is some wild data on this in the material.
Oh, the Thomas Corley research.
Yes. His research found that 67% of wealthy people watch less than an hour of TV daily.
Wow.
Meanwhile, a lot of folks who are, chronically broke are essentially auditioning for a Guinness World Record and binge watching Netflix until their eyeballs just beg for mercy.
Yeah, which points directly to how we manage our cognitive bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that watching TV is inherently evil.
Right.
It's about the opportunity cost and the energy drain.
Hmm.
Every hour spent passively consuming is an hour you aren't building a skill or, writing code or mapping out a business plan.
It's just lost time.
But even deeper than time, it's about neural energy. Creating active output preserves and builds your mental endurance.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, whereas endless passive consumption depletes it. You wake up the next day feeling fatigued before you've even, done anything.
Okay, let's unpack this because preserving mental energy also comes down to the sheer volume of choices we make.
Get there.
You see this with the classic Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg move, right?
Yeah.
Wearing the exact same outfit every single day.
The uniform.
Yeah, and it sounds like this quirky billionaire trait, but our sources point out it's actually a deeply tactical move to simplify decisions.
Exactly. It targets decision fatigue. Your brain has a finite amount of decision-making power each day. It's a biological
It's
limitation.
just a hard cap on choices.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If you spend a massive chunk of that processing power in the morning deciding between 17 different shirts in your closet or what to eat for breakfast,
Yeah.
you literally have less cognitive fuel available later in the day for the complex, high-stakes decisions that actually generate wealth.
Right.
Automating the boring choices protects your cognitive load.
And protecting that cognitive load also means protecting yourself from your own internal friction, like self-doubt.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge drain.
There is a strategy we came across in the source called building an I can do this file.
I love this concept.
It's so good. You literally keep a physical or digital track record of your achievements and the terrors you've survived.
Right.
For example, maybe you survived a nerve-wracking first public speaking gig or a live stream where you thought you were going to pass out, but you didn't.
You live to tell the tale.
Exactly. To me, this is essentially like a video game save point.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. When you lose a life or you're facing down this massive boss battle of imposter syndrome, You don't have to start from scratch. You just reload your past victories to remind yourself that you actually have the skills to win.
That is the perfect way to conceptualize it. It provides a tangible psychological anchor. When you are taking risks, which building wealth inherently requires, of course, your brain's amygdala wants to hit the panic button.
It's freaking out.
Yeah, it senses danger, and this file provides empirical, undeniable evidence to your own brain that you're capable of surviving the discomfort. You're using your own history to downregulate your anxiety.
Which flows right into another internal habit that, honestly, it sounds like a cliche, but is actually pure neuroscience, practicing gratitude.
Right.
I'll admit, I used to think gratitude journaling was strictly for people who wear crystals as deodorant.
Right, a bit woo-woo.
Exactly. But the research shows that focusing on what goes right, even if it's something as basic as, like, finding Wi-Fi that doesn't suck, literally changes how life feels. It shifts your daily experience from feeling like a horror movie to feeling like a rom-com.
Because gratitude is a highly effective neurological tool. It is not just cheesy self-help. When you practice gratitude, you are actively training your reticular activating system.
Wait, the reticular what?
The reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Okay.
It's this bundle of nerves at our brainstem that basically filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through. Your brain is bombarded by millions of bits of data every single second.
Way too much to process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The RAS decides what you actually notice based on what you usually focus on. If you are constantly stressed and focusing on threats, your RAS will highlight every negative thing in your environment.
Wow.
But when you actively practice gratitude, you reprogram that filter. You literally train your brain to spot resources, connections, and opportunities that were always there, but that you were previously filtering out.
So once you've rewired that internal operating system and your brain is actually looking for opportunities instead of threats, we have to look at what might be draining that energy externally.
Yes, the outside factors.
Namely, the people and the obligations around you. We have to prune your social environment.
Crucial step.
There's that famous adage, right? Like, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. If your closest friends think crypto is a new energy drink, you are basically facing a severe uphill battle.
It sounds harsh, but it ties directly into financial risk tolerance. If you're surrounded by people who view wealth building with suspicion, or who, only want to complain about the economy rather than adapt to it, their limitations become your invisible ceiling.
Yeah.
Human beings are tribal creatures. We naturally mirror the behaviors and mindsets of our immediate group to ensure we belong.
But I have to push back on this just a little because it's really easy for a finance guru on the internet to just sit there and say, ditch your broke friends.
Right.
Realistically, for the person listening to this right now, you can't just abandon your lifelong buddies overnight.
Yeah.
You aren't going to send a text saying, sorry, my net worth goals require me to stop speaking to you.
No, you shouldn't. And that's a very fair critique of how this advice is usually delivered. You don't need to cut off your childhood friends. But you do need to dilute their influence on your financial mindset.
And there's a brilliant workaround for this in our sources. Upgrading your circle through ghost mentors.
Ah, yes.
You might not be able to hang out with billionaires at the country club, but you can read Warren Buffett's biography, you can listen to high-level interviews, you can introduce their mindsets into your average of 5 without ever leaving your couch.
What's fascinating here is how this concept connects to our deep-seated fear of judgment. We often hold back on starting a business or, investing because we are terrified of what our current social circle will think.
Definitely.
Take Karen from accounting, for example. If she thinks your new side hustle is dumb, you might feel embarrassed. But the question you have to ask is Karen paying your bills?
Definitely not.
Right, so her opinion is financially irrelevant. When you set those social boundaries and stop caring about unhelpful opinions, you free yourself up to take calculated risks. Because risks are what equal rewards, unless, of course, the risk is eating gas station sushi.
Which is just guaranteed regret.
Exactly.
That is a rock-solid rule of thumb. Do not eat the gas station sushi.
Never.
And protecting your energy also means protecting your time by escaping what psychologists call the yes trap.
Oh, this is a big one.
Saying yes to everything leads straight to burnout. A highly relatable example from the text is agreeing to go to a baby shower for a coworker you don't even really like.
We've all been there.
Every time you say yes to nonsense, you are implicitly saying no to your own financial goals.
It is a zero-sum game. You are giving away the exact energy and time you need to be creating or learning or building your own infrastructure.
But when you do choose to give your time to others, you need to network with intent. We see a lot of people just collecting LinkedIn connections like Pokemon, hoping someone will just hand them a job.
That doesn't work.
No, networking is a lot like dating. If you just walk up to a stranger and say, "Can you help me? I need a favor," you come off as needy and people run. You have to offer value first.
Value attracts value. It relies on the psychological principle of reciprocity. If you solve a small problem for someone or connect them with a useful resource, you become an asset rather than a liability in their network.
Here's where it gets really interesting because up to this point, you've optimized your internal focus and you've built strict external boundaries, you've stopped the leaks.
The foundation is set.
Right. Now, with a clear head and protected time, we can finally tackle the actual mechanics of managing your money. And immediately people hear money management and they think of suffocating restrictive budgets.
Spreadsheets and misery.
Exactly. But the alternative is so much smarter. It's about auditing your spending record.
Yes, moving away from hyper-restriction and toward clear categorization.
Right. Well, which makes sense when you look at the underlying mechanics. Our sources break this down into the 3 Fs: fundamentals, which are your absolute needs; fun, which are your wants; and future, which are your investments and savings.
Nice and simple.
It's described as Weight Watchers for your wallet. I think this analogy is incredibly powerful because it isn't about swearing off all joy. You are simply categorizing things to get clarity.
Yeah.
And once you have clarity, you naturally stop making dumb purchases, like buying a $2,000 Peloton that just becomes a very expensive clothing rack.
That analogy works perfectly because it relies on awareness rather than sheer willpower. Willpower is a depleting resource.
You just run out of it.
Exactly. If you try to force yourself not to spend money through sheer discipline, you will eventually crack and binge spend. Awareness, on the other hand, illuminates your behavior. You look at the fun bucket and realize, wow, I am directing a massive percentage of my labor toward things that don't bring me lasting joy.
And once you have that awareness, you have to get incredibly specific with your goals. Saying "I'll save money" is basically as useless as eating a box of donuts while saying "I'll get fit."
It means nothing.
Right. You need a hard target. If you want $30,000 for a house down payment by 2027, you have to break that mountain down into bite-sized pieces. It becomes $1,250 a month.
Which turns an abstract dream into a mathematical reality.
Right. And $1,250 feels totally doable, unless you are still spending $1,200 a month on Starbucks.
Yeah, that's a problem.
In which case you basically own shares in caffeine, and you need to seriously rethink that fun bucket.
And to ensure that money actually makes it toward the house down payment, you have to automate your savings and investments.
The robot accountant.
Exactly. Warren Buffett has a famously simple rule for this. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving.
You make the money disappear to a robot accountant before you even have the chance to blow it on, like limited edition sneakers you'll only wear twice.
Out of sight, out of mind.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second. If you're listening to this and thinking, but I need every single dollar of my paycheck just to survive right now. I can't automate hundreds of dollars. How does this actually apply?
It's a crucial question. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, the trick isn't starting with $500. The trick is automating $5.
Just 5?
Just 5.
Yep.
You are building the invisible infrastructure of the habit. Behavioral economics shows us that humans naturally take the path of least resistance.
Right.
By automating even a tiny amount, you completely remove the friction of having to actively choose to save every single paycheck.
Right.
It happens in the background. You engineer your environment to make the right choice, the default choice. Once your income grows, the system is already in place to capture the excess.
And while that robot accountant handles the saving, you have to handle the learning. You don't need a finance degree. Just spend 1 hour a week learning about money.
That's all it takes.
Read up on index funds or listen to a deep dive on behavioral finance. Spending 1 hour a week learning compounds way faster than spending an hour scrolling through TikTok watching bad Drake dance trends.
Very true.
And part of that learning is actually talking to other people about money. 45% of Americans don't talk about their finances with anyone.
Which is wild.
That taboo keeps people isolated and broke. We need to swap tips instead of just swapping complaints about inflation.
That statistic is staggering. Silence around money benefits no one except the institutions profiting from your ignorance. By talking casually about budgeting or negotiating salaries and investing, you normalize wealth building. You demystify the entire process, though, as always, Consider the source of your advice.
Right. Asking your perpetually broke cousin for stock tips isn't going to lead to financial freedom. It's just
Okay.
going to be comedy.
Exactly.
So at this stage, we have the money organized, it's automated, and the educational foundation is being laid weekly. The floor is rock solid. The final step is moving from simply managing the money to actively multiplying it. We have to scale up.
Which shifts our focus to the highest yield asset you will ever own, yourself.
Ooh, I like this part.
Yeah, the best investment isn't crypto, and it isn't real estate. It's your own mind and body. Education, fitness, specific skill acquisition. You are essentially turning yourself into a dividend-paying asset. You become, in a sense, human stock.
I find that concept fascinating, human stock, because when you upgrade your skills, your earning potential increases exponentially, which gives you more money to fuel those automated systems.
Exactly.
And that increased earning potential naturally leads into diversifying your income. We know that millionaires usually have multiple streams of income. If one dries up, the others keep flowing. It could be consulting, digital products, freelancing, or even monetizing a weird hobby like knitting sweaters for cats. So what does this all mean for the listener who is already feeling a bit stretched thin?
It can sound overwhelming.
Yeah, because to a lot of people, multiple income streams just sounds like spinning a dozen plates at once and risking total chaos and burnout.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is vital to understand the timeline. You do not try to juggle 5 streams at once right out of the gate. That is a guaranteed recipe for disaster and burnout.
Oh, for sure.
It is a sequential process, not a simultaneous one. You start with one stream, your primary career or a single-side business. You master it, you build systems around it until it requires less of your daily active energy. And only then do you add the next one.
And to make sure you actually start that first stream, you have to take action before you are truly ready. Tomorrow never comes. You just have to launch the business, publish the article, or film the video. You are going to make mistakes, but mistakes are just the tuition fees for success. If you wait for the perfect moment where you feel zero fear, you are basically waiting for your office printer to work on the first try. And we all know that is literally never going to happen.
Perfectionism is essentially just procrastination wearing a tuxedo.
I love that.
Taking imperfect action is the only way forward. It gives you data. You can't steer a parked car. And this perfectly sets up the final and perhaps most important piece of the entire wealth-building puzzle, the 1% rule.
Improving by just 1% each month. You cut a small expense here, you boost your income slightly there. It's so comparable to going to the gym.
Oh, exactly.
You do one heavy workout, you come home, you look in the mirror, and absolutely nothing has changed. You're still the same. But if you keep going consistently, after a year, you're suddenly much stronger and far less squishy.
Finance works the exact same way. Small, almost imperceptible wins add up. The 1% rule is the ultimate antidote to the overwhelm of wealth building. You don't need to double your income overnight. You just need a 1% optimization. It leverages the mathematical law of compounding.
Right.
The human brain thinks linearly, but wealth builds exponentially. Those tiny incremental changes, automating $5, reading one chapter, avoiding one impulse buy, eventually hit an inflection point where the growth hockey sticks upward.
Which brings us full circle right back to you listening to this deep dive. Building viral wealth and achieving that lasting financial freedom, it does not require you to stand in front of a bathroom mirror at 4 a.m. screaming affirmations until you lose your voice.
Thankfully.
It's so much simpler and honestly beautifully boring. It's about picking just one or two of these micro habits. Maybe today you just set up that automated $5 transfer to your savings account.
Just one small step.
Or maybe tonight you swap 1 hour of binge-watching TV for 1 hour of reading about behavioral finance. You plant those financial termites and you let time do the heavy lifting for you.
This raises an important question, though. We spend so much time thinking we need massive, dramatic windfalls to change our lives. We wait for the big promotion or the lottery ticket.
We really do.
But what if the biggest barrier to wealth isn't actually a lack of money, but a lack of intention in our mundane daily choices? If our habits are indeed financial termites, you have to ask yourself right now, what invisible structures are your daily habits building or eating away today?